Hello and a very good morning to everyone and welcome once again to the third day of 1 week International Faculty Development Program on Herbal Medicine Research and Global Health, a therapeutic perspective organized between 9 to 14 Feb by Adarsh Shikshan Prasarak Mandal, KT Patil College of Pharmacy, Usmanabad. Ladies and gentlemen, the whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. And with this beautiful quote, let's begin our new day of this International Faculty Development Program. I hope you all are getting benefits from our different knowledge boosting sessions since 2 days and now gear up to attend the session for today. Dear participants, herbal medicine is any medicine exclusively containing as active ingredients one or more herbal drugs, herbal preparations, or their combination. The use of herbal medicine as the first choice in the treatment of minor diseases or disorders continues to expand rapidly across the world. Herbal drugs are obtained from medicinal plants are used by majority of people because of their safety and less side effects. But it is not completely true that herbal products do not have any side effects or toxic effects. They do carry risk. Safety of herbal medicine is therefore an important public health issue. Among consumers, there is a widespread misconception that natural always means safe, and a common belief that remedies from natural origins are harmless and carries no risk. However, some medicinal plants are inherently toxic. Furthermore, there is a potential for adverse reaction due to lack of regulation, weaker quality control system, and loose distribution channel. Regulatory authorities of different countries regulate the quality and standard of herbal drugs on the basis of problems associated with them, such as herb-drug interaction, side effect, toxicity, and adverse effect. So, for to know more about different regulations regarding herbal drugs, we have one international expert in our panel today. Our resource person for today's session is Mr. Prathamesh Deshmukh sir, Senior Manager, Regulatory Affairs, Bristol Myers Squibb, Princeton, New Jersey, USA, who will orient us about regulatory aspect of herbal drugs. I would like to give a heartiest welcome to Mr. Prathamesh Deshmukh sir. Welcome sir and thank you very much. You have accepted our invitation and spared your precious time with us. I also would like to welcome our beloved principal, Dr. Amol Joshi sir, and convener of this EE International Faculty Development Program. Welcome, sir. I also would like to welcome the organizer of this NE International Faculty Development Program, Mr. Ramaja Umbre, sir. Welcome, sir. So before we move towards this session, I would like to introduce Mr. Prathamesh Deshmukh, sir, in brief. Sir has completed his Bachelor of Pharmacy degree from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Aurangabad, and his MSc in Pharmacology in University of Oxford in 2010. He has worked as a QC chemist with different companies. Sir is now having regulatory affairs. He is working as a regulatory affairs contractor with 10 years of experience from development to life cycle management. Sir has worked with different companies. He is now working as a EAMS and post approval activities for United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, Northern Ireland. He has worked for preparation and submission of post authorization activities on oncology and HA interactions. He has worked as regulatory affairs project lead in GSK. He has developed strategies, execution plans for masks in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Argentina. Also, he has worked array planning, co-coordination, activity tracking, submission for EU condition renewal. He's worked as a Swiss RTQs, China IND, Japan CTA, EU PIP, and ODD application. He has led 3 development projects in phase 2 and phase 3 in a GRT matrix team. He has worked in Lifespan as a former division of Johnson& Johnson as a regulatory affairs specialist. He has prepared regulatory strategy with stakeholders, risk identification and seeking opportunities while delivering compliance for MH transfers and re-registration projects. He has done end-to-end project management with stakeholders for new registration and MH transfers. He has responded to technical questions and queries from notified bodies. He has prepared variation, renewal applications, raised change control and implementation before and after approval including relevant documentation as per SOPs. He has reviewed artwork and labeling in accordance with the country specific requirements. He has worked in Accord Healthcare Limited as a regulatory affairs officer in that he has prepared, reviewed and submitted various types of variation, withdrawals and renewal application in the EU for MRP, DCP, CP, and UK I international procedure within agreed time frame. He is responsible for technical writing and review responses of queries, deficiencies, and license with EMA and EU national authorities like MHRA. He has experience in reviewing CMC and updates as per variations and change controls. He has provided regulatory support and handled various projects in CIS and MENA, updated and reviewed SMPC, PIL, and mock-ups following labeling variations. He has maintained and updated GMP WDL licenses. He has updated and maintained regulatory QMS database. Also, he has worked in Abbott Laboratories. He has handled and resolved pharmacovigilance issues, complaints, and adverse events, recording and reporting and into database, ensuring compliance. He has worked in Auden magazine, UCLIP as a regulatory affairs officer. He has prepared and submitted sunset clause application. He has worked as a regulatory affairs officer in Vita Biotics, London. He has prepared and compiled dossier for vitamins and food supplements in European Union and Middle East and North Africa region. Also, he is a member of TOPRA, that is the Organization of Professional in Regulatory Affairs. There is lot more to tell about the Prathamesh Deshmukh sir, but due to time constraint, I will stop here. Sir, we have indeed privilege to have you in our expert panel today, sir. Welcome you, sir, and thank you very much for sparing your time with us. Now, I would like to request Prathamesh Deshmukh sir to start their session, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chitra Madam, for a very brief introduction. And good morning, everyone. As Madam introduced, my name is Prathamesh Deshmukh, and I'll be going to talk about the regulatory aspects of the herbal drugs. Can you just check if you see my screen okay?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay. So, before starting on the main session, I would like to tell you briefly about what do you mean by regulatory. I'm not sure about the current syllabus you have for pharmaceutical degree, but when we were students, we didn't have anything about regulatory. So this might be a surprise to you that when you say regulatory in pharmaceutical industry or in any industry, because regulation is set up by the government to make sure the safety of their patients. And regulation means a set of rules, but it's not a law. So if you follow this set of rules, then the safety of the public in that particular area is guaranteed. So the regulatory aspects, they varies from different scenario to scenario. We have regulatory aspects for finance. There are regulatory aspects for chemical industry. There are regulatory aspects for pharmaceutical industry. There are regulatory aspects for herbal medicine as well as veterinary medicine. For food, there is a separate regulation. For cosmetic, there is a separate regulation. So basically, every country try to come up with certain regulations which every individual who is working in that industry has to follow to make sure that whoever the users of those products, they are in safe hands and the government can ensure their safety as long as those people who are working in this industry follows this rules and regulations set up by the government. Okay. So today's discussion is all about this regulatory aspects of herbal drugs, and we'll talk about different countries and how the regulation varies in different countries and how it is important to follow that regulatory aspects if you are working in herbal industry going ahead. Okay. So this is going to be a very brief discussion. So today's agenda will be a brief introduction about the herbal medicine, how they work, how they are classified, a brief information about the European regulation about the herbal medicine, as well as the regulation of herbal drugs in India, and the underlying issues when you're registering this product in a particular country. So when you say you're registering, that means whenever you're trying to sell a particular product in a particular country, there are rules, whether it is a veterinary product or human product or modern medicine or herbal medicine or homeopathic medicine. There is always going to be a procedure, a process that you have to follow in order to get the license from that particular country for that particular drug to sell into a particular market. And this whole process of making an application for a license in that particular country for that particular drug, this process is called as a registration process, which you can imagine is quite lengthy, and it does take time for the government, regulatory health authorities to work on. Um, so in UK, you have MHRA, which is the Medicinal Health Regulatory Authority. In Europe, whole across Europe is governed by a a medicinal product agency called EMA, which is European Medicine Agency. And in different countries, we have these different regulatory authorities who look after the product registration of that particular drug, and they will give you the product license if your product found to be safe and having efficacy for their public. Okay, so let's start with the next slide. So just a brief introduction about the herbal products. As Chitra madam said, herbal products, they are the part of the plant which include the trees, the fungi, maybe seawood, of which the leaves, seed, flowers, fruits, or roots, they can be used for their therapeutic as well as for cosmetic purpose. These products in EU, they are regulated with 2001/83/EC Commission decision, as well as 202/46/EC Commission decision in the cosmetic products. Now, just a brief history of herbal products. So the herbal products, they are with us since thousands of years, since the human beings, they start the civilization process. What happened was, when the human civilization starts to do the farming, and even before that, they used to go into the jungles and woods to find their food. They realized that some of these leaves, seeds, flowers, fruits, and roots, they do have some medicinal properties. And this experience of having those medicinal properties, they have used in their day-to-day life when they get unwell. And this whole process was dependent on their experience with that particular herbal product. And this is how the herbal medicine, they started their use in the human civilization. So obviously, like I said, this whole process was dependent on the experience. There was a need somewhere to list down what these herbal products are and in which disease area they are used. The oldest document what we have known so far is from the old Egyptian Empire, called Eber's Papyrus. And this contains references to more than 700 herbal remedies, which were written around 1515 BCE. Then after that, obviously India is having a very rich history as well. You all have heard about Charak Samhita, which was written around 600 BC, which also contains reference to around 1000 Ayurvedic drugs, their preparations, their storage, their use, as well as their safety profile as well, in which conditions they are used, in which conditions they shouldn't be used. So basically, it is the most comprehensive pharmacopoeia of that time, of using these herbal drugs in different disease areas. There's another one in Chinese medicine called Shen Nong. It was written in 1st century BCE, which also contains information about 800 drugs which were used in ancient China to treat different kinds of various diseases with their procedure to prepare, how to store it, and in which disease condition they should be used. Okay, so this is a bit history about the herbal drugs. Now, the second thing is how do these herbal drugs work? So herbal drugs, they are plant-based diet rich in phytochemicals, which are the compounds which are present in fruits, grains, nuts, seeds, vegetables, and in herbal medicines too. And how they work is they reduces the risk of contracting illness, as well as helping to alleviate many chronic diseases, including cardiovascular diseases, cancer, Alzheimer, and type 2 diabetes, as well as playing a vital role in the healthy aging population. These chemicals, which are these phytochemicals, they can be anything from polyphenols to saponins to terpenes to alkaloids, glycosides, tannins, essential oils, fatty acids, vitamins, as well as trace elements. So even the herbal medicines, they are in use since ancient times, but how they work and what is their phytochemistry, the human beings were not aware since modern 18th century, when we have come up with a knowledge of chemistry and how the things work and different analytical instruments, and they came in. So these phytochemicals, they have a role in synthetic chemistry as well. So after the advent of synthetic chemistry in 18th and 19th century, what the scientists they try to do is they try to synthesize these drugs chemically, but they took these phytochemicals and herbal medicine as their basic information, and they tried to figure it out what that active substance is which is having a pharmacological effect, and they tried to mimic that process into the synthetic route, and they did have succeeded in creating a lot of drugs which were created um, naturally in the herbal drugs. For example, we all know that in English willow we have aspirin. So in olden days in Europe, if someone is having fever, what they used to do is they used to take the bark of English willow tea, they boil it in water and they drink it water. That is a decoction of that English willow bark. Now, the scientists in 18th century, they have figured it out that the English willow bark contains a drug, what we all call today as aspirin. And then with the knowledge in medicinal chemistry, they have synthesized this aspirin, and we have aspirin available these days, which is manufactured synthetically. And that's why it's very cheap and very readily available. And we don't have to go to a jungle to take the bark of English willow tea and boil it. So we this is how the scientists have made our life so easy. So about 50% of the approved drugs in the last 30 years, they are either directly or indirectly synthesized using the herbal drugs or natural products in the area of cancer. For example, we all know that vincristine, vinblastine, they are the two anti-cancer drugs which are prepared using Vinca rosea plant. So over the time, in around 1940s to date, there are about 175 small molecules, and 85 they are actually being either used as a natural product or directly derived from there. Okay, and because the structure of these phytochemicals is exactly same as the drugs which are created synthetically, that's why we can find a chemical synergy in them as well. So the therapeutic effect of the whole plant tends to be more effective than the particular action of any of its perceived active constituents. So these different phytochemicals combine with together herbs to take the further advantage of the subtle but the potential healing properties of those mixtures. For example, the dhatura, okay, which is a toxic plant if you take in amount which is more than its effective concentration. So if the dosing is wrong, and if you take the overdose for dhatura, if you take the leaves and the seeds and combine used, it can be used for asthma, cough, which contains atropine, hyoscine, and scopolamine. So all these different products of the plant, like leaves and seeds, and if you combine them, they have a very, very potent effect on you, because they contain atropine, hyoscine, and scopolamine drugs. What is interesting in this is even a single plant of datura in different sections of that plant contain different chemicals, and all these chemicals, they are in a way linked to each other. And if you consume this, if we take a reasonable amount of dose, they can be having very good pharmacological effects on asthma and cough. But if the dosing is inappropriate, then this might lead to very toxic effects. And you probably heard that if the grazing animals by any chance accidentally eat this datura plant, they just die because of the overdose of these chemicals. Okay, so not all herbal drugs, they are safe. They can be very lethal as well. Now, a little bit about the description of the herbal drugs. So, these herbal medicine products, as per the EU definition, they are the medicinal products which are defined in the EU legislation as any medicinal products which is exclusively containing an active ingredient of one or more herbal drug substances, or one or more herbal preparations, or one or more such substances in combination with one or more such herbal preparation, and this to be marketed with a combination of certain specified minerals and vitamins, and they can be available as over-the-counter drugs in case of the standard formulations. Okay, so there are a lot of herbal food supplements which are available into the market, and a wide range of nutrients and other ingredients, they are permitted in food supplements, including vitamins, minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids, fibers, various plants and herbal extracts. These days, I think the garlic extract, the ginger extract, they are used as a food supplement for those people who are suffering from heart diseases, because garlic and ginger extract, they somehow found to be reducing the amount of cholesterol synthesis inside the human physiology. Okay. So the other ways which we can describe the herbal drugs is herbal medicine in practice. So this practice is done by someone who is called as a holistic or whole person approach, and this person will look after the physical, mental, emotional, as well as the spiritual elements of an individual, and dynamically interconnected to maintain or regain vitality and health. These health care practitioners, they carry out in-depth consultations, they make independent diagnostic judgments and treat patients using the herbal prescriptions which are flexibly adjusted in the light of patients' changing condition. This particular approach requires years of study and clinical training as well. For example, Ayurveda, which is the ancient Indian system of treating the patients with the herbal drugs. So it's not only talk about what herbal drugs you have to take, but it takes a complete and holistic approach, like who the person is, what is the age, what is the physical condition, what is the emotional condition, what is the history, is there any family background for a particular disease. And then these Ayurvedic practitioners, they used to start their treatment regimen to a particular patient and look after the patient every day to make sure that there are any changing factors that he or she has to consider dynamically, and then adjusting different dosing regimens as well as changing the herbal drug to that particular patient. So this is also a part of herbal medicine practice. Then we have a third category, what we called as herbal medicinal products to support the innate healing capacity of that particular person. So reinforcing and resilience, resistance and immune status of that individual who is in the concerned, and to support this natural resilience or the capacity to cope up, to maintain and rest one person's health. So this focus is completely on the innate capacity of that person, rather than to looking after how to control that particular disease area. This kind of treatment, this will reduce the susceptibility or to illness or a particular disease, as well as specifically addressing any existing disease process. So these herbal medicine, they try to invigorate the poor circulation. These are some examples, or they can allay inflammation, or they can reduce pain, or they can relax the muscular and psychological tension. They can improve sleep. They can regulate the hormone imbalances. So there are a lot of herbal medicine which can be used as a standalone treatment or a complementary treatment together with conventional medicine, and both this individual herbal medicine along with the conventional medicinally synthesized product or the herbal medicine on its own, they can be used in all the different kind of disease area which are mentioned here. Okay, now we'll come focus on the main issues about the regulation of these herbal medicinal products in the EU. So there are different kinds of ways in which you can register a particular herbal medicine into the UK, into the EU. So the first one is called as a full market authorization. Okay. So a full EU market authorization when the application is concerning a new active ingredient. Okay. The, so this is a bit tricky part when it comes to the EU, because when you say a new active ingredient, if you are bringing any medicine, let's say from Ayurveda or from Southeast Asia or China, which is outside EU, into the European Union registration, it is considered as new active ingredient. Okay, but if you go in that particular country, you can't make this application as a new active ingredient, because for those people and for those outside living near in those countries, these products, they are not new, they are quite old. But if you take these products into EU, and if there is no other authorization present at the moment, then this will be classified as a new active ingredient. Okay, so a dossier which is supporting the medicinal products quality, safety, efficacy, it needs to be submitted to the regulatory authorities. Okay, and this is the most difficult part with the herbal medicine, because whenever you come up with a new active ingredient, and if you try to sell that particular product in the European Union, in all those 30 countries which are present in the EU, you have to come up with the quality, safety, and efficacy of that particular drug. Now, when you say quality, safety, and efficacy, means quality is having a strict specification of that particular product. Let's say in case of injection, or let's say in case of tablets or capsules, that how you're going to make that quality, which is very effective, which doesn't have any microbial contamination in it, how you are going to make sure that the active ingredient is present in that particular amount in that capsule, what are the impurities which are created, what are the methods of testing, analytical method testing, what is the weight of the tablet, what kind of capsule shell you are going to use, what kind of different studies you are going to do on that particular capsule to make sure that they dissolve properly, they disintegrate properly. And then there are safety aspects as well. For example, the safety concerns, they are of two types. One is the immediate safety, and the second thing is long-term safety studies. So if you are giving this capsule to a particular person in EU, what are the immediate safety implications of that particular drug? That how does it affect your gastrointestinal system? How does it affect your central nervous system? How does it affect your cardiovascular system? How does it affect your muscular system? These questions, they are important. Just in case if a person took overdose, what are the issues that will created in terms of safety profiling? These are important things. Another thing in the safety is called as long-term safety. So if you're taking this drug for, let's say, 1 week, um, we already consider that in the short-term safety studies. But if you take these drugs for years and years together, for example, those people who are having hypertension or diabetes, in those cases, this patient requires the medicinal products to take for a very, very long period of time. And taking that particular herbal drug for that particular period of time, that will have a serious impact on his physiology. So you have to do the clinical trial studies to ensure that what are the effects of these herbal drugs in a long term onto that particular person. So you have to do the studies on all the system and to see in that long term studies how it's affecting the lungs, the kidneys, the cardiovascular system, the muscular system, the reproductive system. And even in longer terms, is this particular drug safe, or is this particular drug is only going to be safe in a very short span of treatment. Okay. Then comes the most important issue of efficacy, and this is a big problem with the herbal medicine. Efficacy means if you are making an argument that one particular drug is effective in a particular disease area, you have to prove this by doing the clinical trial studies. And these studies, you have to design a model in which you are not only going to come up with the dose of that particular drug, but you have to come up with the formulation as well. And then you have to have those patients in which you are going to do the trials on, and then you are going to give this drug to these patients and see if their pain or if their disease condition is getting alleviated with the help of that herbal drug. So you have to do this efficacy studies before you make a regulatory authorization application in that particular country. Okay. Now you also have to do the clinical and preclinical study as well as quality in some cases. That's why I put this into bracket. The clinical and preclinical studies, I'm not sure whether you are aware of it or not. So clinical studies, they are done on a lot of patients which are having that particular drugs. These studies can be open label studies, or they can be double blind studies as well. So basically what you do is you have a group of patient, what you call control, and then you have another group of patient, what you call under trial. And then for those people who are control, you give a placebo, and those who are under trial, you give your drugs. And then you have to check the efficacy of your drug using those in which the patients are taking it, and compare their health parameters with the control population. And this way you have to prove statistically that your drug is working, and those patients who are taking the drugs is actually far better health wise in terms of the control population. Okay. Preclinical studies, actually, they are done on the human tissue. These days, you don't need to do on the animals anymore. But used to be done on the animals. So these preclinical studies, they are done to make sure that the safety and efficacy, especially the long-term safety and efficacy, to see that if at all any possibility of a long-term illness maybe arise because of this particular drug in a long-term use. Okay. Uh, Even though we have this regulation for quality, safety, and efficacy in EU, practically this route is not very used in herbal medicine. This route is used for medicinally synthesized products or any biologicals, which is derived from a very advanced knowledge in chemistry and biology. But for herbal medicines, this route is not used because because of a lot of reasons. First is the herbal medicine, they contain a large amount of phytochemicals, um, and it is a mixture of those phytochemicals which makes them very difficult to ensure and to prove that which phytochemical product is actually having an pharmacological effect. So, like I said in my introduction, these herbal medicines, they come into human civilization only because of experience of those people who are taking it, and still this is the practice. So it is very, very difficult to prove that how many active ingredients or how many phytochemically active substances they are present in that particular herbal drug, and how to determine their exact mechanism of action. So as they are natural products, so they cannot be patented. There is another big problem with the herbal medicine, and therefore the pharma companies, they have no commercial interest in doing so, because if the pharmaceutical company cannot if the pharmaceutical company cannot patent a particular drug, that means if the company pays a huge amount of money to do the safety, quality, and efficacy studies on the product, and if they found to be a very promising drug, when they start selling, the other companies, they can make such a type of herbal preparation and they will sell it to us, which will seriously impact the investment the other company have made. And that's why most of the herbal companies, they are not at all interested to do any quality, safety, and efficacy studies. And unfortunately, this is the reason we don't have a lot of herbal drugs which have a proven efficacy studies, and they are used um, in the current medicinal product scenario. Okay. Another requirement to make this EU full marketing authorization is the stipulation which is requiring 15 years use within the EU. Now, this is a bit funny part, because if you're bringing a medicinal product which is, let's say, native to India or native to China or native to Japan, it's not there in the EU market, and the minimum period for particular use of the drug in EU is 15 years. So the registration of these herbal medicinal products from the non-European medicinal traditions, for example, Ayurvedic products, it's very difficult to prove it, and that's why you can't find any Ayurvedic product which are readily available in the EU market, because there is a requirement of 15 years to use within the EU. Otherwise, you have to do this safety studies, clinical quality studies, efficacy studies, and obviously it does cost a lot to do the studies, and that's why no company is interested to invest that amount, because you can't patent them. Okay. There is another route to apply for the medicinal authorization in herbal. Is there is no longer these drugs, they are no longer bound by their data exclusivity. Okay. They also require a complete quality documentation dossier, but a clinical and preclinical program is required. Even though a reduced clinical and pro-clinical program is required for well-established use, because it cannot be patented, the companies, they are not willing to do these trials. Okay. You can register the products which, if you have the references which are published in scientific literature, and that the constituents of these herbal medicinal products, they have well-established medicine used with a recognized efficacy level and level of safety. What does that means is, even though you don't have the clinical or preclinical program, but you have to have a very good safety profile over the years in a particular country or in a particular area. And this information about safety and efficacy, both of these parameters, they should have been published in a scientific literature report, which is having a sort of standard designation in the EU. If you have the scientific literature and you can prove that a particular herbal medicine is having very good amount of safety and efficacy with this, then it will help to make this well established herbal drug application. Okay. Providing this proof of efficacy is sufficient for well-established use authorization. It is also frequently too expensive for herbal medicines because, as I already explained, it cannot be made patented, and unlike the most conventional pharmaceuticals, they are chemically complex. So they required a level of research to validate each well-established use. Market authorization is lacking for most of the herbal medicine. Because this herbal medicine, they contains one or more, usually more than one active ingredient, it is very difficult to do the clinical as well as preclinical program and to establish the safety study. Okay, and that is the most important factors that the herbal medicine, they are not very popular at this stage. Then there is another type of application called standalone or mixed application. In this kind of application, the safety and efficacy data from the company's own development or combination of own studies and bibliographical data. So in this case, the company who is trying to register the particular product into the EMA has to do all the safety efficacy studies, preclinical and clinical studies, as well as they have to develop the combination of their own studies and prove to the EMA that we have done all the preclinical, clinical, safety, efficacy studies, and these are the results. And can you give us the authorization to sell a particular medicine product into a particular indication in a particular disease area? And then you can give some bibliographical references as well that will help your application. Okay. So this is a little bit about the 2004-24 EC directive. This is about the traditional herbal product directive, usually called as THMPD. So, like we discussed just now, there are difficulties of authorizing these herbal medicines under these two legislative procedures. There is a lack of agreement between the member of states. There are, because European Union is a union of different states. Different states means different countries, and different countries, they have their different regulations as well. So you can't come up with a strategy which will give you access to all those countries which are present in the EU by making a single application. That route is available for chemically synthesized products or biological products via EMA. But unfortunately, that way of authorizing the herbal medicine products into all the countries is not available for herbal medicines. So, because there's no agreement in all those countries, if one country is asking for some information, the other countries require complete new information, and the third one, which will require, you know, what you have provided, completely different information what you have provided in the last two countries. So this makes the whole registration process very, very complicated business. So there is no agreement between the member of states about how such products should be marketed. So a simple procedure was introduced. And this simple THMPD was intended to remove the differences and uncertainties about the status of traditional herbal medicinal products which existed in the past in the member states, and they facilitate the free movement of that product by introducing a harmonized rules. And that's why they come up with this regulation where they try to harmonize the regulation in the European Union so that you don't have to go to individual countries' regulatory authority and request that to give the approval for your medicinal products. So it's more a holistic approach in which if you make application via this route, this will be applicable to all member of states in the European Union. Okay. There is another way called as a simplified registration process. So a long tradition which do not fulfill the requirement for a full marketing authorization or well-established use. So the TUR, which stands for the Traditional Use Registration of the Herbal Medicinal Products, without requiring particulars and the documents on the test and trials on safety and efficacy, provided that there is a sufficient evidence of the medicinal use of the product through a period of at least 30 years and including at least 15 years in the EU. Okay, this is very much applicable to all the traditional herbal products which are present in the European Union. So if there is a particular herbal products which are used in EU for 30 years or in any other country for 13 years and minimum 15 years of use in the EU, then you don't have to provide any safety, efficacy or quality studies. You can just prepare an application, give the evidences that this particular product is available in the EU for 15 years and it is being used in a particular disease area for more than 30 years, and then you will probably get approval. Their quality applications for registrations of the traditional herbal medicinal products have to fulfill the same requirement as applicants for a full marketing authorization. You need to have a full quality dossier, which is required for all herbal medicinal products. And this quality dossier is all about the manufacturing process, the quality control process, to ensure that the quality is maintained consistently in different batches. Now, they have indications which are exclusively appropriate to the traditional herbal medicinal products, which, by the virtue of their composition and purpose, they are intended and designed for use without the supervision of a medical practitioner or a diagnostic purpose or for prescribing or monitoring the treatment. Okay. These products should be exclusively used for administration in accordance with the specified strength and posology. They are an oral, external, or inhalation preparation, and the data on the traditional use of medicinal products, they are sufficient. So in particular, these products proves not to be harmful in the specified conditions of use, and the pharmacological effects or the efficacy of the medicinal products, they are plausible on the basis of long-standing use and experience. So this procedure wholly depends on the experience of the public using in a long-standing use and experience. Okay. So as long as you make these parameters, you can get your product registration under a simplified registration process. Now, the next way to register the product is called HMPC, which is a new provision, a Committee of Herbal Medicinal Products, which has been established at the European Member of State. So HSMP is tasked with establishing the community monographs. Now, as we have just discussed, we have issues with the preclinical, clinical safety and efficacy studies. What HMPC does is HMPC is tasked with establishing the community monographs, and they are trying to standardize this monograph for the traditional herbal medicinal products with the objects of further facilitating the registration process and harmonization in the field of traditional herbal medicinal products. This is compiling a list of herbal substances which have been used in the medicinal use for a sufficiently long time, and hence they are considered not harmful under the normal regulation of the European Medicine Agency. So going ahead, if your product is registered with HMPC and if it is complies with the monograph which is published in the HMPC guidebook, then it will make your regulatory authorization application very simplified. Okay, as long as your product matches with the monograph which is published. Now, the World Health Organization Traditional Medicine Strategy. This is going to be an interesting topic. So, so far to date, there is no such assessment of a separate legal framework which has occurred, and majority of the herbal medicinal products used by the practitioners of these traditions, they lie outside the scope of this directive. I think before 2020, there was no such World Health Organization directives on herbal drugs. There is Annex 7 on the good pharmacopoeial practices. There are chapters on monographs on the herbal medicines, which were published just last year. This covers the quality parameters with different analytical tests. For example, you need to check the foreign matter, the moisture, other organoleptic tests, and spectrometry and stuff like that. The key technical issues of the herbal medicine with reference to interaction of the other medicine. Now, this is going to be a very interesting thing because if you're making an application via well-established use, and if you're not doing the efficacy studies, there is very likely that you don't know how these herbal traditional medicines they are affecting with the modern traditional medicines. Now we all know that with the advent of modern traditional medicines, there are a lot of people who are taking the medicines on a regular basis. Patients like diabetes, hypertension, um, and different disease areas where these people they are taking medicine on a regular basis. These herbal traditional medicines they can interfere with that, and they can either potentiate the effect of that particular medicinal products, or they can nullify the whole potential pharmacological effect of that product. And in both the cases, there is a danger to the patient who is taking this. So the World Health Organization have taken a very careful safety approach about the key technical issues of the interactions of these medicinal products. And that directive was published on 19th May 2021. Now, coming back to the regulation in India. So, in India, these herbal drugs they are regulated under Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 and the rules in 1945, which covers the provision of Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha medicine. This Drugs and Cosmetics Act more or less looks on the manufacturing, import, distribution, and sale of the products. Okay, we are not talking about any efficacy, safety studies, neither on quality studies. Recently, the central government have come up with the idea of Ayush. So the Department of Ayush is the regulatory authority, and they mandate that any manufacture or marketing of these herbal drugs. Okay. The Drugs and Cosmetics Act extends over licensing, formulation, composition, manufacturing, labeling, and packing quality. And in 1959, the government of India recognized the traditional Indian system of medicine, for example, Ayurveda and Unani. So the product manufacturing license is required from state drug control authorities. Okay. Um, The other thing is the Matrix Insight report. So Matrix is a private company based in UK, and they have published a report just to provide insight of the herbal medicinal product market to the people who are using it. So the availability of the medicinal products for human use in EU and the European Economic Area, the study was done by Matrix. The divergence in national procedures and the approach to the herbal medicine products were discussed in much more depth in that report. The incomplete and ineffective implementation of the member states seems to be resulting in a relatively few products becoming registered as a medicinal products in that particular country, because every country they have a very complicated, sometimes confusing and incomplete and if ineffective regulations for the registration of these herbal drugs. And they also suggested the work to improve the national implementation of the simplified procedures for the herbal medicine products. Now, the hypothetical risks which inhibit the progress of registering the herbal products in different countries. So the overcautious approach currently prevent any herb containing fucoramines from the genus Angelica. Um, with the use of this herbal medicine, some people they have had serious side effects and life-threatening side effects as well. and over the period of time, the regulatory agencies from that particular country, they have involved into the investigation of this particular product. So the regulatory agencies, they have come up with some prerequisite tests to make sure that the herbal medicine products, they are safe for the public use. For example, the requirement of genotoxicity. Now, the 2004-24 EC directive does not imply an extensive genotoxicity data for the TUR scheme, as safety is provided by the evidence of the long-standing use. But nevertheless, some member states, they require this expensive and extensive genotoxicity studies despite the guidance from the HSMP, which simplifies the process. So as we have just discussed, there is no harmonization. The HMPC is trying to harmonize the regulation in different countries, but every different country in the European Union, they have their own regulations to protect their public. So even this genotoxicity is required in 2004-24 EC. Some countries, they doesn't require it, but some countries, some member state, they do require you to do this genotoxicity studies. Okay. Now, the restrictive time frame. So the stipulation of use of a particular herbal medicine product, which for 15 years use within the EU, restrict the use from the non-European medicinal traditions. For example, if any Ayurvedic medicine, if you're trying to sell in Europe, if it is not used more than 15 years in Europe, you can't register that product using a simplified process. Similar situation will happen with any medicinal products, maybe it is Indian Ayurvedic system or traditional Chinese system or any other traditional herbal medicines from Africa. You cannot use it, you can't go with the simplified procedure because if it is not used for 15 years in the European Union. Now we discuss about the different regulations in EU and in India. Now we'll quickly discuss some other issues which are relevant for this herbal drug. Now, the food supplement and FSA. FSA stands for Food Safety Authority in European Union. So the European laws is increasingly confusing as evidenced by a ruling by the European Food Standards Agency called FSA. For example, one product which were containing 6 different herbs, which is proven laxative effect in a food supplement, and it is marketed within this health claim as a laxative. Now, the same product in France and in Belgium and in Italy is registered as a traditional herbal medicine products instead of food supplement. And why this is happening, that you are registering one product as a food supplement in European Union, and in same countries, for example, France, Belgium, and Italy, you are registering the same product as a food supplement. This is because there is no coordination between the HMPC countries and the regulations, they are completely different. So in theory, these regulations, they require that the health claim should be adequately demonstrated, that they are sustained by generally accepted scientific evidence by taking into account the totality of the available scientific data. However, in practice, the permitted claims are somehow very anecdotal and they are very weak. And in present, there is no real information for the consumer or health practitioners. 13 or more significantly, the quality of the herbal medicinal product marketed such as food supplement is not addressed properly, as the market surveillance is mostly focused on the correct labeling, but crucially not an actual quality of the products. Okay, and this is very confusing area for the herbal medicine because there are no very strict regulation on how to register the product exist in different member of states in the European Union. Then we have a big issue, which is about the quality issue of herbal food supplements. So as the you cannot patent the herbal medicinal products, so the pharmaceutical companies, they are not investing enough money into the research and development for the products, and that's why they are having some quality issues as well. For example, over 70 herbal products from various markets and internet retailers in EU were taken by the European Medicine Agency. Some of these products were traditional herbal medicinal registered products registered under THR, and they're sold as herbal medicine under THMPD directive, while the others were sold as food supplements. For example, the ginkgo biloba extract contains a little or no ginkgo biloba extract. Some of the products, they are having unidentified adulterants suspected. There were issues with the pH of the solutions or the liquids they are selling, and there were serious problems with the physicochemical properties as well. Okay, so why this is happening is because the drug cannot be patented. The pharmaceutical industry or those companies which are trying to sell these herbal medicinal products, they're not investing enough money to come up with a solid dosage form with a very good quality parameters to ensure that these particular products, they are of a very good quality, and as well as safety and efficacy in the patients in which they are using them. Okay. Now, the herbal drug interaction. So this is a bit serious concern when it comes to registration of a product in EMA or in any country. That because the herbal medicinal products, they contain phytochemicals, there is always a chance that these herbal phytochemicals will interact with the modern medicine, and they can potentiate or nullify the effect of that particular medicine. And in both the cases, that might be turned out to be a disaster for the patient who is taking it. If the effects are potentiated, there is always a chance of a serious um, life-threatening reaction to the patient, or there might be a possibility of death. If the effects, they are nullified, then there is no efficacy for the medicinal product he is taking, and that particular disease will likely to grow up in the future, creating a very serious health risk for the patient. So many medicinal, herbal, and pharmaceutical drugs, they turns out to be toxins when they interact with each other. These herbal drug interaction, they may increase or they may decrease the pharmacological effects, and they can cause toxicological effects. For example, the herb used to decrease the blood glucose level. They may actually cause hypoglycemia if taken with the conventional antidiabetic drug. So if you take a conventional antidiabetic drug along with the herbal drug to reduce the sugar, both of these will potentiate the effect and will seriously decrease the blood glucose level of that particular patient. And this particular drug drug or herbal drug interaction may put that patient in a very serious condition. Another example is the ginkgo biloba, which contributes to the healthy blood flow around the body. When this ginkgo biloba, if you are combined with warfarin or aspirin, which are used to raise the blood pressure, then, and if you are taking any thiazide diuretic, that will potentiate the effect of ginkgo biloba, and that will also have a very serious consequences, and that may cause a thinning of blood, and then there is a possible rupture of the blood vessels as well in the peripheral areas, okay, which might prove to be very fatal. As the herbal companies, they are reluctant to do the safety studies. They are also very reluctant to do this health drug interactions as well, and there is always a risk associated with this herbal medicinal product. So overall, we have discussed in summary about the herbal medicines, what they are, what is their regulation in EU, regulation in India, and the herbal drug interactions as well, and what are the issues you have while registering the herbal medicinal products in most of the countries. Okay, and I think you probably have enjoyed the session. So thank you for inviting me, and I'll welcome if you have any questions. Chitra madam.
हाँ हाँ सर हाँ yes sir
Yes, I have finished. Um,
finished
yeah,
okay okay sir okay thank you sir thank you very much now we'll start our question answer session sir.
sure.
There are some questions we received from participants. So first, I would like to take first question: how the drug-drug interaction can be studied for herbal formulation?
That's a very good question.
Hmm.
So, when you are discussing about the herbal drug interaction, this can only be possible to study when you're doing your clinical trials. Okay, so we have something called as safety clinical trials, in which you try to recruit patients which is having different disease areas, and those patients who are normally taking the drugs for their routine ailments like hypertension and diabetes and any medicinal products. What we have to do is, before recruiting that patients and giving them the herbal medicine, you need to check that how these herbal medicine products will affect, and then you have to do some dosing studies as well before you hit that directly to the patient. So what you do in dosing studies is, you sort of start with a very low dose of a herbal medicinal products, and then those patients who are taking the normal medicinal products, and then you slowly gradually increase the dose of the herbal medicinal products to see the potential toxicological effects on that patient. Okay, and then this is how you will come to know that what interaction the herbal medicinal product is having with different medicinal products. But because this is a toxicological study, it is very difficult to design that particular product, because how many patients you are going to recruit? Because there are around more than 10,000 drugs which is available in the market. Even you recruit one patient for one medicinal products, you have to recruit 10,000 patients to do the safety studies, and that is not enough to do the to create a clinical data. So you have to have a very large number of patients who are taking different medicinal products, and then you start with this herbal drug interaction studies. And that's why it's impossible to create such an clinical trial program and to recruit the patients. And that is one of the major hurdles in doing this kind of studies. And that's why we are only relying on the experience what we have. And there is a system which exists in UK as well as in European Medicine Agency, is to register the side effects of a particular product. So if you are taking any medicinal products, where it is a generic drug or where it is an innovative product, and if you are taking any herbal medicines along with it, if you have any side effect, usually the patients, they will report this using this side effect reporting scheme, and it will go to that particular company, yeah, which is which that particular product belongs to, and they will do the investigation to see that what exactly happened to the patient and what might be the possible causes, and then they will do the root cause analysis, and then they will confirm that, okay, this drug is having this effect and this herbal drug is having this effect, so combining these two, they have created this particular side effect into that particular patient. At this stage, because these drugs cannot be patented, no organization or company is doing the clinical trials, and we are completely reliant on the safety studies which are coming from the patients. And we can only use the data which is coming from these patients, and to make that information available to those people who are using that herbal drugs. Okay.
Okay. So next question is, can you please explain about pharmacovigilance aspect regarding interaction of herbal and conventional allopathic drugs?
Pharmacovigilance aspects of the conventional drugs as well as the the herbal drugs. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Herbal drugs, they don't have any pharmacovigilance aspects at the moment. All the pharmacovigilance aspect is applicable to the conventional medicinal products in the European Medicine Agency. And like I've said, if you're taking any conventional medicinal products at the moment, and if you think that you have a side effect or if you have a lack of efficacy, effect, that you're thinking that the drug is not working at all, you have to report this to the European Medicines Agency. And the European Medicine Agency, they will transfer or send this information to the MA holder, who is the marketing authorization holder for that particular drug. And that company will give you a call or call to you or your healthcare provider or the nurse or doctor who is giving you the treatment, asking all the details about you and your drug and disease conditions and what went wrong. And they will try to correlate that why this drug side effect had happened, and then they will report that back to the EMA. The EMA have a very big pharmacovigilance system running in the background, what we call signal detection. So let's say if 10 or 15 people in a year have a side effect of, let's say, warfarin with ginkgo biloba. So that ginkgo biloba and warfarin um, will trigger up in their system that we found these many patients of side effects of having, let's say, heart attack or bleeding in the peripheral areas. And the system will pop up that this particular drug have caused it. And this is how they publish information to those all who are selling this particular herbal product, and they will also notify to all the marketing authorization holder for that particular drug. So all those companies who are selling warfarin in European Union will get a notification from European Medicine Authority that in your leaflet you please make a line that if you are taking warfarin with this zinc biloba, that will cause a peripheral bleeding. So either you avoid taking that herbal drug or you avoid taking warfarin. You have to discuss with your healthcare provider. So this is how the pharmacovigilance system in the EMA works. Okay.
Okay. So next question is, for the active substance, is it possible to substitute the marker described in the European pharmacopoeia by an alternative marker?
What do you mean by marker?
Uh, they are asked that about we are using markers, different markers for different pharmaceutical products. In that, if we are using uh, we can substitute the possible markers described in the European pharmacopoeia by an alternative markers.
Yeah, you can substitute the active substance marker by
Yes.
another markers, but then you have to do the safety, efficacy, and quality studies as well. And like I said, this is very expensive business. And unless you can't hold a patent on that particular product, no one is willing to pay millions and millions of euros in doing these clinical trials just for nothing. At the end of the day, if they cannot make the money out from that business, they are not going to invest it. So you can replace the active ingredients which is not present in the monograph, but then obviously you have to do all the safety and efficacy studies.
Okay, so next question is, do GMP rules apply to the active substance of traditional herbal medicine product?
That's a very good question. It depends on the country which you are making that application. Okay, some countries they do require GMP certification for the preparation. Some countries they don't require the GMP certification. Okay, so it depends on what product it is, how it is packed, how it is presented, and whether you need to have a GMP certificate or not. Okay, whereas Most of the countries these days, they have this GMP certificate because that helps your application procedure. But it is not a mandatory requirement in certain countries, but it is a mandatory requirement in other countries. So it depends on in which country you are making your application.
So next question is, toxicological studies are carried out in herbal formulation also?
Yes, you have to do toxicological studies in the formulation. Unfortunately, no company have done it, but you have to. If you are trying to bring a new product from outside the Europe and you're trying to sell it into Europe, you have to do the toxicological studies. But no company had did it so far. But it is required, yes.
So last question is, can you please explain about which herbal drugs are best uh, uh, in Alzheimer disease? Can you explain about herbal drugs which are best in Alzheimer disease? Someone asking
Um,
about it.
I am a pharmacist by profession, and my job is to do the product registration in
Yes.
the European Medicine Agency. I haven't come across any herbal drugs which is used in Alzheimer. It's best to um, see if any healthcare practitioner does have any experience, but I don't think this falls in my area of knowledge.
So next question is, the advertisement of herbal drugs is really true for herbal formulation as they are authenticated?
No, no, sorry, say that again.
The advertisement of herbal drugs, whatever they are showing on the television or whatever it may be, but they are true for herbal formulations. They are authenticated.
Ah, okay. Um, I like this question because this is a very serious question. See, the Drugs and Cosmetics Acts 1945, as well as the I think there's another act which comes in 1920. I can't remember, but these two acts they are very relevant on the advertisement of the pharmaceutical drugs. Basically, if you are using any herbal drug which does have any traditional use, okay, and which is well established in India over the period of thousands of years, then you can claim that in your advertisement that this is effective in this disease area, okay. But you cannot use that particular drug in a particular area in which you have not done your trials, okay. I can give you a simple example, okay. So in India, it was a tradition that after finishing our lunch and dinner, people used to eat pan, yeah, the betel nut leaf. Now, the betel nut leaf, if you eat it, it does contain a very high amount of soft fibers. Okay, there are two types of fibers. One are soft fibers, one are hard fibers or rough fibers. So, because this betel leaf they contain soft fibers, the absorption of the metabolite, the food ingredients, the proteins, carbohydrates, minerals, fats, their absorption is extremely good. And to maintain a healthy, very healthy colon movement, it is always advisable to have this soft fiber. And that's why people they eat various different kinds of fruits and vegetables which contains high amount of soft fiber. So if you eat a pan after food, it will definitely help you in your digestive process. Okay. But tomorrow, if someone comes and say, I have this herbal medicinal product which is very effective in corona, that is a bit problematic because when you say pharmaceutical advertisement, there is always a comparison between the content and the intent. Okay. So what you are saying is maybe content, but why you are saying is the intent, which is most important. Now, when you say a particular herbal medicine product is very effective in treatment of, let's say, cancer, very effective in terms of coronavirus infections, you need to prove that you have selected few recruited few patients of coronavirus, then you have some control patients, then you have treatment, and then you have done double blind studies as well, and then you have done some other studies as well, that your product is working on that particular virus, you need to come up with the mechanism of action as well. It's not like you've done the clinical trials and you prove something wrong. Usually, let's say, if one person have stolen one thing from a, let's say, a departmental store, nobody have seen that person, that does not mean that that person is not a thief. That means he is a thief, but unfortunately, because there is no evidence to prove at this moment, you cannot penalize that person. So exactly in the same way, even you do your clinical trial studies and double blind studies, you need to make sure that particular herbal medicinal products is having effect on that particular disease indication, on, let's say, a coronavirus or on HIV patient or cancer patient, and you need to explain the mechanism of action to prove that your herbal medicine product is working on it. And it is very tricky, and it is very expensive as well. And like I said, you, because we can't patent those products, there is no one is going to do such a kind of studies. um, and that's why all the information what we have about that medicinal product completely relies on our experience. um, and that's why, because it is completely based on the experience, I don't think it is fair to make a particular claim for that medicinal product that this is effective in coronavirus treatment or this is effective in this particular area without doing the clinical trial studies and without proving the mechanism of action as well. Okay, but I like that question.
So thank you so much, sir. It is very interesting topic and very interactive session, question answer session, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much for giving your new and valuable insights on regulatory aspects of herbal drugs. Your thought-provoking session set a perfect platform for our researchers to do their best in the areas of herbal medicine research and their regulatory aspects. So now it's time to present vote of thanks. I would like to invite and like to request our Vice Principal and Academic Coordinator Geeta Sapkai ma'am and co-convener of this EFDP program to present a vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chitra. Check whether I'm audible or not.
Yes, ma'am. You are audible, ma'am.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Satkari Geeta, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmacognosy, ASPM's KT Patil College of Pharmacy, Usmanabad, on behalf of 1 week International Faculty Development Program on Herbal Medicine Research and Global Health, a therapeutic perspective, I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks. At the outset, I thank you our today's resource person, Dr. Prathamesh Deshmukh, Senior Manager, Regulatory Affairs, Bristol, Myers Squibb, New Jersey, USA. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence on regulatory aspects of herbal drugs. Today's session by Dr. Deshmukh sir aimed to create regulatory aspect awareness among the teachers, students and young intellectuals about the safety, efficacy and quality control, marketing and regulatory aspects of botanical medicines. Sir also emphasized that not all the time herbal drugs are safe unless and until they are properly checked for their safety. Purpose of today's session is to provide an interactive forum for the delegates to share their experience with learned speaker for uplifting professional values of herbal drug in India. Thank you very much, Dr. Prathamesh Deshmukh sir, for sparing your valuable time. Sir have accepted our invitation and guided to our delegates on the regulatory aspects of herbal drugs. Thank you once again, sir. We are also thankful to our Honorable Founder, President Shri Sudhiranna Patil Sir and Administrative Officer Mr. Aditya Patil Sir for their motivation. I would like to thank you, our Principal Dr. Amol Joshi Sir for his enthusiastic support. A special thank to Organizing Committee, teaching and non-teaching staff for their unflinching support and coordination. Our heartfelt thanks to our delegates for active participation. With these warm words, once again, thank you one and all. Now it's over to you, Chitra.
Thank you, ma'am, for presenting vote of thanks. And once again, thank you so much, Prathamesh sir. Despite your busy schedule, you have accepted our invitation and enlightened our e-faculty development program with your knowledge boosting session. I must say this session was very beautifully explained by you, sir, and all have benefited by the guidance they have got from me. And thank you very much, sir. Once again, thank you very much. And I have presenting virtual certificate. Please accept it, sir.
Thank you very much for the certificate and the opportunity you have given me to present my knowledge for all your students. Thank you. You have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day, sir. Thank you. So thank you very much. Now we are concluding our session. Tomorrow we will have another session. Tomorrow we will have Dr. Ashok Giri sir, National Chemical Laboratory Pune, for the new topic. So be prepared for next session. And thank you once again for joining our session, today's session. Thank you once again.